masked up. We're trying to be socially responsible, yet true to what we need to say. We're going to start off this protest with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Martinez, this is my favorite part, the National Anthem. It's up to you. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the ramparts we won were so gallantly gleamed, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Thank you. Mr. Martinez. Thank you. A couple of housekeeping issues. Please keep your masks up. In the back here, we have raffle items. Please buy some tickets. There's some great prizes there. I encourage you. We don't want to carry them back home, so please. Let me introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Gil Gallego. I'm the president of the Fraternal Order of Police at Albuquerque Lodge 1 and a proud member of this group of New Mexico Back in the Blue. What we are is several nonprofit groups that have banded together to speak on behalf of law enforcement families, all those who have retired and are still working and who need the truth to come out and the truth to be spread. So we need you guys to help us with that. We are not afraid of the truth. For those of you who were not at our last rally, we spent many time talking about some of the issues, asking for prayer, asking for God to guide us. Tonight we brought several speakers who I would consider experts in their field to speak about the Officers' Bill of Rights, immunity for public officials, not just police officers, but public officials, mental health awareness issues for law enforcement and their families. Things that we don't usually bring up, but it needs to be brought up, and you need to spread it. Also, the attack on law enforcement. That attack, I hope, is ill-informed and not malicious, but either way, we're here to stand up and tell the truth, so our citizens can make a decision based on those facts. I had a couple of speeches lined up, but you know what, looking at you guys, I don't need to give you a speech. What I need to do is probably introduce the people who are going to talk to you, so you can ask questions and you can hear what we have found out and we would like to share with you. May I introduce, please, the Albuquerque Police Officer President Sean Willoughby. Sean has a few words on the New Mexico Officers' Bill of Rights.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Sean Willoughby. I'm the president of the Albuquerque Police Officers Association. Sorry, I can't talk with my mask on, so I'm taking it off. The Officers' Bill of Rights and the conversation and why it's important to you is because there's a false narrative out there. There are men and women that we elected that work for us in this building right now in committees trying to attack law enforcement on something very basic and simple. The Officers' Bill of Rights brings civility to the interview process. And when I talk about civility, things like officers are allowed to use the bathroom. Officers are allowed to bring their attorney with them. Officers are not to be accosted or called names. Now, 30 years ago, it's kind of baffling to me that we needed legislation to provide civility in law enforcement administrative investigations, but we did. We do, and they're trying to take it away. The false narrative and the attack on law enforcement is real. We need your support now more than ever. I thank you for spending a Saturday with us out here right now because it's important to us. This isn't a Rubik's Cube. Don't listen to the false narrative, and please pay attention who you're voting for. Do some research. See where they stand with supporting law enforcement. A lot of the people that represent us, our communities in this building, can't even say the words law and order. Thank you so much. I wanted to keep it simple. The Officers' Bill of Rights is important. The FOP of this state got this legislation brought to New Mexico like in 1978. It is not taking away accountability. It is not taking away transparency. It does not help police officers in criminal investigations. But every citizen that sits on this platform has rights. So do we. Firefighters have an Officers' Bill of Rights. We're working on getting correction officers an Officers' Bill of Rights. Please do me a favor. Pull the statute. Read it. Ask yourself, why is this an initiative of people in this building in January to take it away? Send an email. Send phone calls. Your law enforcement officers need support right now more than ever. And the consequences, people say there are consequences to elections, and let me tell you what, that is damn straight and true. And the consequence of this election, if we are not paying attention, is that you are not going to have cops. You are not going to have cops in the state of New Mexico. We are going to go to a different market. We are going to go to communities that support law enforcement. And it's time for this community, which I know 70 to 90% of them support law and order and support our wonderful police officers throughout this state. It's time for you guys to stand up because the silent majority has been bulldozed for years. So stand with us, support us, and vote.
Thanks, Sean.
I've asked past state president of the FOP, Bob Martinez, to say a couple of words, and he's given me his promise to keep it under 10 minutes. I'm working on under 2 minutes, possibly. He brought his own mic, you notice.
Yeah, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a proud member of the Fraternal Order of Police. I'm also a New Mexico Public Safety Advisory Commissioner. I want to first and foremost thank you, the men and women who are protecting and serving our law enforcement officers. And more importantly, the public, you folks that protect us, serve us, and we serve you. Just a couple of data points. As of today, we have lost 238 officers, or I should say 238 officers have been shot at in this country. 32 officers, and it's up to 36 as I'm told today, have been killed in the line of duty. 242 officers protecting and serving the communities across the country have contacted or died from COVID. 242. Ladies and gentlemen, the law enforcement officers are not the enemy. They are your protectors. They are the sheepdogs, but we need your support. As my brother Gil Gallego has pointed out, and clearly my brother Sean Willoughby, we need your support. We need your help. Back us up, back our officers that are out there, and we're all peace officers because the law enforcement community is comprised of every officer to include corrections officers and others in probation and parole, as well as state, federal, local, and county officers. We need your support, we need your backing. Clearly, there's a misunderstanding by those elected officers. Remember one thing, there are 112 legislators that are up for election this year. Vote, go to the polls, be acquainted with what's going on. Remember, the sheepdogs, those law enforcement officers, are your protectors. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. I wanted to address a couple of things that we've seen in the media quite often and maybe just set some things straight. Protect and serve. Protect and serve. We hear that quite often, not just on TV. It's a motto on many of our police cars. For those of you, and most of you do, but I'll go over it, are the words we see on the sides of many police cars and the motto of many police forces. The words define the mission of the police, which is to protect citizens, serve the public. Police officers swear to protect and serve, the same as knights who often swore to protect the weak, the defenseless, the helpless, and fight for the general welfare of all. Protect and serve. That's why I took this job. That's why we're still here, and that's what we will do to the day we die. Do not let people tell you that we are here for anything other than that. We are your servants. The thin blue line. You see it up here in many different versions. Single line, the American flag, our shirts. It's been maligned. It's been taken over by extremists, or at least they accuse them of taking it over. No one has taken that away from me, from us. The thin blue line is just what it is. It's a memorial to our fallen. It's a symbol we use just to acknowledge those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. It's also a symbol that signifies police officers standing before the public to stop chaos, just to protect you. Do not let people tell you it stands for any one extremist group. It does not. So if you believe that, then you believe our American flag stands for something that doesn't. It stands for every state, and it stands for our Constitution, just like this stands for our fallen officers and the police departments who serve you. Do not let people hijack these symbols for whatever evil reasons or misinformation they have. We can't stop them from trying it, but we can tell the truth. I am proud of these blue line flags and what they represent. Our fallen officers, their families, the sacrifice, and what we do for the public. Just remember that when you see it. There's nothing about hate involved in these symbols. It's a sign of hope. Thank you. Let me introduce James Flores, our National FOP trustee. He's got a couple of words.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming out today. Before I get started, I want to recognize a couple of people. First and foremost is our FOP brother, our favorite son, Gil Gallego, sitting over here. That good-looking black shirt on. Or do the queen thing. He served as the national president of the Fraternal Order of Police from 1995 to 2001, and the prior 8 years to that, he was our national vice president. Also, I'd like to recognize Robert Bada, standing over there next to that skinny guy over there. And he's the president of the Las Cruces Lodge, so he made a really long drive this morning to come out and see us, and we see him as another number. So thank you, Robert. Thanks to everybody else for being here. One of the things I'm going to speak on for just a couple of minutes is something that you're going to be reading about in the newspaper. I apologize. Our state president also is there in the back by the table with the shirts and the have the raffle tickets, the raffle items back there also. Okay, one of the things you're going to be hearing about, and for some of us that have retired, and there are many here that haven't retired yet, is going to be the issue of qualified immunity. Some people don't quite understand what it is. It's somewhat complex, but it's relatively simple. FOP's promoting fighting and opposing this because a lot of us have family, we have friends, kids that are on the job. We want to make sure that they maintain the protections that they enjoy right now. Back in 1967, the Supreme Court allowed states to have a qualified immunity doctrine for public officials, government officials, and I'll explain that in a second. What qualified immunity does is that it keeps government officials, to include police officers, from being able to be sued in frivolous lawsuits. An example would be right now, if in fact I used an example yesterday, I'll just use it again. Officer gets a call, burglary in progress. He sees the bad guy coming out of the window. The bad guy sees the cop. He drops the TV. He goes running. The officer runs down the alley, chases him, tackles him, hooks him, books him. The case proceeds. During the process of the takedown in the alley, the guy breaks his wrist, breaks a finger or something. You can't really sue a police officer. It's just something that doesn't happen for something like that. If they sue the department, if he decides to sue the department for his injuries, that's something covered by the department, and he's relatively protected by qualified immunity. By the same token, if the officer is walking a beat downtown and he just walks up to a car and for no reason drags somebody out and beats the hell out of them, well, that's a constitutional violation, and he can still be personally sued then. Well, they're trying to do away with all of it in getting rid of qualified immunity. But the one thing you need to keep in mind is that it's for all public officials. And as the legislation starts to become introduced here at the later part of the year and in January when the bills start to drop, we're going to see if the politicians are including themselves in this. They have the same rights that we do at this time, but we're quite sure that qualified immunity, the way the bills are going to be drafted, is not going to affect them. And if you want to see a reduction in law enforcement across the country, they got rid of qualified immunity in Colorado. The governor patted himself on the back for doing so, and they're having a lot of issues in Colorado. People aren't going to want to do the job for fear of being sued for just frivolous lawsuits and just doing their job. So call your legislators. Everybody here has a state rep and you have a senator, and ask that question. We know you're going after QI this legislative session. Are you including yourselves and your colleagues in the bill? That would really go a long way in helping us as we sit as FOP officials and others in talking with our legislators. So anyway, if anybody has any questions, see me after the rally. And again, thank you for coming out. One last thing. As most people know, I don't really like to get political about anything.
Right.
Kamala Harris sponsored a bill at the federal level doing away with qualified immunity countrywide. So keep that in mind. We don't know if it's going to go anywhere. It probably isn't. But that's the thought process. A lot of people at all levels are going after it. So thank you for being here, and everybody have a safe drive going home, and call me if you have any questions about this issue.
We promise to keep this short. Your time is precious to us too. Let me introduce Jessica Morning, a concerned citizen. She wanted me to call her Princess Zena, but I said I think Jessica's probably good.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. When we started this idea of this campaign, we wanted to get our pulse on basically where New Mexican politicians stand. The initial thought process behind the Back in the Blue was just to show that we support law enforcement. We did, back in August, we did a rally. It was really successful downtown Albuquerque. We just paraded through the city and showed everyone our support that way. But we decided that this is an election year, and so we came to realize we needed to detour from that path in this instance. We wanted to make sure that in the future we would have a strong supported, funded law enforcement to support. So we decided to see where the state candidates stood with regards to law enforcement. We wanted to get a pulse on who in politics really does back the blue. So we sent out a questionnaire to 9 congressional candidates as well as all of those running for state office. In all, over 120 emails were sent out. The candidates were all asked the same questions regarding their personal experience with law enforcement, the idea of defunding the police, what the idea of the thin blue line and the term to serve and protect means, support qualified immunity for law enforcement officers, what the greatest challenges for police officers were, and finally we asked if they had any ideas with regards to supporting the officers and their families. So unfortunately, we only got a handful of emails back. When I say a handful, I mean 7 out of over 120 emails sent out. 5 of those came from individuals running for state. 5 of those came from individuals running for state office, and only 2 responses from those who wish to hold office in our nation's capital. Despite the lack of individual responses, we did get an open letter from the entire House Republican caucus. I'm not going to read the whole letter, but I would like to provide some of what it said. They first wanted to thank every New Mexican law enforcement officer for their service to our state and to their local communities across the land of enchantment. They noted that we believe there is no issue as important as supporting our law enforcement professionals who risk their lives daily to keep our communities and families safe and secure. We fundamentally reject any effort by either the state legislature or local governments to defund law enforcement agencies. We're also committed to opposing any legislative effort that would adversely impact law enforcement's ability to hire and maintain qualified and effective workforce. And they said, please be assured that we support qualified immunity in its present form. They go on to say that we are committed to reassuring law enforcement officers and their families that we support and applaud them for dedicating so much of their lives towards helping others and protecting our way of life. The terms thin blue line and to serve and protect must once again be recognized as meaningful ideas that not only honor the commitment of those who place their lives on the line daily, but those whose words need to be echoed more often by the general public to truly show appreciation for law enforcement's tireless efforts. And I know that we have Democrats here, and I really do wish we could have provided a similar statement from the House Democrats, but we just didn't get that. They gave us nothing. We did try to keep this as bipartisan as we could, and everyone had an equal playing field. So as far as the 6 candidates running for House of Representatives, we received 1 response, and that was from Garcia Holmes, and she's running for District 1 House. As a retired police officer and detective for APD, this was not surprising. She noted she supports police funding, she supports qualified immunity, adding she would like it actually to be strengthened. She recognizes that law enforcement is under attack and would like to strengthen the laws at the federal level to ensure that if a law enforcement officer is specifically targeted and murdered or attacked, their attacker would be prosecuted at a federal level. So despite the fact that her opponent, Deb Holland, failed to respond to her questionnaire, I do think she should be afforded the opportunity to have her words shared. This quote comes from a press conference happened on October 7th regarding racial justice community panel. And this is a direct quote. You can find it on her website. And this is from a press release. Far too long, police brutality and countless murders of black lives have been stolen at the hands of police who lack racial consciousness. Bystanders who do not disrupt excessive force and those who abuse their power are rarely held accountable. So those are your 2 candidates running for District 1. No responses were received from the candidates in District 2 or District 3. With regard to the Senate candidates, Mark Ronchetti, Ben Ray Lujan, and Bob Walsh, the actual only respondent of the 3 was the Libertarian candidate, Bob Walsh. Mr. Walsh's responses were actually kind of very vague and failed to clearly answer our questions. But if you would like more information on any of the information that we received, the open letter from the House of Republicans, or Mr. Walsh's response, or anyone else, please let us know. We can have a sign-up sheet in the back, and we'll take your email and just ask us what you want. And again, I want to thank all the law enforcement officers that have joined us today. I know things are going rough these days, but you need to know that there are many more for you than are against you. And so I personally thank you.
One thing that I wanted to point out is that, if I could interject very quickly, we've been very, how shall I say, told that the ladies and the men in the auxiliary have been very supportive. And I wanted to personally thank, on behalf of the Fraternal Order Police, the New Mexico Fraternal Order Police Auxiliary. We have the national president, or I should say the national secretary, Linda Martinez, who's here, and she's also the president of Albuquerque Lodge 1. And clearly, that support group, we wouldn't be where we're at today, but I just want to take a moment, point of personal privilege, and thank the auxiliary for support of all law enforcement officers and the families of
Thank you, Bob. There are so many things we go around, and I would do that, but I don't want to be remiss and miss somebody, and I would. But there are so many supporters, which makes me happy. There are supporters. The public does support us. As long as we support them, we will get that support. They just need to stand up and let it be known. Moving on to our next speaker, please. We're going to be speaking on behalf of mental health for first responders and their families. Very reluctant speaker, very shy. I know it's hard to believe, but please pay attention.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yay!
My name is Amber. I'm with Behind the Badge New Mexico, which is a nonprofit that provides first responders co-pays for mental health services. That includes counseling, Reiki, massage, all kinds of other subjects to help our first responders. Now, with that being said, I want to talk about the reason we need mental health services for first responders. The number of police officers who died by suicide is more than triple that of officers who are fatally injured in the line of duty.
Yes.
Sorry, I get nervous. I'll repeat that one more time. The number of police officers who died by suicide is more than triple that of officers who were fatally injured in the line of duty. That's a large number. And we're not making it any easier on our officers right now. We need our legislation to back our officers and not only help them do their jobs, but help them mentally. Help them feel like they can do their jobs. Trauma experience as a police officer was shown to be more strongly shown for police officers with PTSD. The lack of support by our certain community members and government officials is worsening these mental health issues. We need to support our law enforcement, and we need the lawmakers and governors to stand behind those who stand on the thin blue line. Thank you.
There are very many issues. We can speak all day long, but that's not our point. We want to bring some of these things to your attention, give you some facts to work on, let you know that the control of our country is in your hands and ours. We all vote. Talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, answer the questions. We're honest. When we make mistakes, there's no secret. But when we don't make those mistakes, they need to acknowledge the fact that we're doing the job we're supposed to, which is protect and serve you. So it's always been a very sad moment, but a necessary one during any event where we gather, where we acknowledge and ask for a moment of silence for all our fallen law enforcement officers and family members. Please remove your covers while we observe this moment of silence for those who have fallen, please.
sea por el amor de Dios, por el amor de Dios, por el amor de Dios. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Lord, may everything you do begin with your inspiration and continue with your help, so that our prayers and works may begin in you, and by you be happily ended. Glory and praise to you forever and ever. May the Lord of every grace blessing grant you joy and peace. May you rejoice in God's protection now and forever. May God strengthen you and bring your work to completion. May hope accompany your journey through this day to come. May God's abiding presence be with you all the days of your life. May the Lord bless you, keep you, may his face shine upon you, and may he be gracious to you. May he look upon you with kindness and give you his peace all the days of your life. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain.
Thank you.
This will be concluding our short information session. Like I said, your time is valuable to us and we don't want to take up too much of it. We just wanted to spread the word. Sorry, our protest. To be legal. With all due respect, we want to tell you thank you so much for what you've done for us, all you groups, your families, your officers, everybody. Thank you. We also want you to know this is just another chapter and we're continuing to educate our politicians and anybody who will listen to the truth. With that being in mind, if you have further questions, you can always reach us at newmexicoBackInTheBlue@gmail.com. That's newmexicoBackInTheBlue@gmail.com.